I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Wednesday, April the 13th, brought to you in part by Vitalix. Delivering the highest value tub for your feed dollar has been their mission at Vitalix for over 30 years. And it is the reason that ranchers across the country trust Vitalix to impact the profitability of their operation. Get the blue tub. Go to Vitalix.com. Regional packers, and you might wonder why I would entitle this report Regional Packers, and I've been known, I'll go ahead and admit, to say some disparaging marks about the Packers from time to time, or maybe you guys could read between the lines and tell that I wasn't a big Packer fan, not on the football, but in the beef business. But that does not apply to regional packers. We love the regional packers. Most of them are still privately owned, although your big four are trying to get in and then buy up your smaller regional packers. But the regional packers are the only reason that this business is still viable for an independent producer, and that the big four haven't completely taken over. Regional packers do not have all their needs met. They are the only ones that will push the market for numbers whenever they need them, and they will push the market for quality, especially regionally, whenever they need it. They deal in a premium quality product, and they're not afraid to go in there and compete for that, and give a little more for cattle if they're really needing those cattle, and if it's cattle that they really want. Now, some of them, people say they would rather not go to certain ones at different times. They don't think that their dressing yield is quite as good, or this or that or whatever. But tell you what, if we didn't have our regional packers, we'd be sunk, and we need them. And you think, well, why would you push this Cattle Price Discovery and Transparency Act in? It's going to force the packers to do. The regional packers do not slaughter enough to meet the threshold to have to be under the Cattle Price Discovery and Transparency Act. So it doesn't. They won't fall in that. Most of them, a lot of them don't even fall under, mandatory price reporting. So we won't see that for them. Now, so their stuff gets reported a lot of times voluntarily to USDA, but it also gets reported out in the open, and I dare to say that, and I was a former market reporter for USDA, but now that we have Twitter and everybody has these group texts and things like that, there's a lot more market reporting being done out in the country by individuals than there is by any kind of a government entity. I can get more information on my phone just from texts and Twitter and things like that than I can get, not the specifics and not the number of cattle that have been confirmed and all that kind of thing, but I can get more prices and more deals, more strings of cattle that have been reported through that way. Just like on this report and on Cattle Market Central and National Beef Wire, you can find out more about strings of feeder cattle that's sold at auction and all around the country. Because of the way that they report them with federal state market reporting system, which are really auditors anymore. They're not really reporters. But we love our regional packers, our Nebraska Beefs, our Greater Omahas, our Creekstones, all the like that. We're starting to get a few more starting to come online. We're going to have that sustainable beef out there in North Platte. It appears that at some point we're going to have one in eastern Missouri or over on the Illinois line. I'm not sure where they've decided to build that, but it's going to be mostly cows, I believe. But we've got a lot of small plants that are plucking a few cattle here and a few cattle there. A lot of them have been helped by that $1 billion that Joe Biden has thrown them, which, that's great. If it helps, it helps, but we need all the help we can get. But those smaller plants that we're talking about, your little locker beefs and some, kind of local regional type small plants are not going to really have an effect on your big market, but if it plucks a few cattle here and a few cattle there, and it allows people that really want to know where their beef is coming from the opportunity to pay a little premium and get that, then it's a good deal. But you know, many of your major packing facilities owned by the Big Four, many of the majors within the 5-area feeding region get 100% of their needs filled through formulas. So whenever we get this Cattle Price Discovery and Transparency Act passed, it's going to bring them up to speed on top of the ones that already participate at a small level in negotiated trade. It's going to bring that further up than what everybody, all the naysayers are saying. And, you know, I say, well, who's the naysayers? Who would be against anything like this? And like I said, I can't believe any group, any agriculture group, 4-H club, FFA, rodeo team, sheriff's posse, any ag group, why they would be against passing this thing, I don't know. And then as I'm thinking that, I see that RCAF put out a bulletin on Tuesday that urges their members not to support the Cattle Price Discovery and Transparency Act. Instead, they want to kick the dead horse 5014 bill that nobody's talking about, nobody thinks they can get. They're not having a hearing about it in less than 2 weeks. You know, it's a dead deal. It's not going to happen. It's absolutely not going to happen, people. I'll promise you it's not going to happen. The powers that be are squealing about holding the levels that we have right now and then adjusting them up from now. And we're trying to do that to stop the bleeding. You know, we could go on for years and years and years, you know, bitching about the way things are, or we can try to preserve what we've got right now and then start adjusting it upward. And that's what we're decided to do, and that's what we're doing here with Cattle Price Discovery and Transparency Act. But you know, I said that some of your major packing facilities owned by the Big Four get 100% of their needs filled through formulas. That's basically an AMA, or an alternative marketing agreement, that National Corporate Beef Association says, you know, is so important in our industry. A lot of people think AMAs are just the premium programs that some of your smaller outfits get involved in, and there are some nice premiums there. But the formula deals are basically AMAs. The number one requirement of an AMA, an alternative marketing agreement, a formula, a sweetheart deal, whatever you want to call it, the number one requirement is that you promise all your cattle to that packer, which does what? Eliminate competition. So we just have to preserve what little negotiation that we have and then start building on it as we go forward. Yes, is it going to take 2 years for USDA to get somebody in there and decide where we need to start adjusting that towards? Yes, but it is going to be adjusting it upwards. So we've got to freeze what we've got right now, which is higher in some regions than what we've had in the recent past, and then start building on it, guys. We've got to do that. And this is the best opportunity to get that done. We had, again, record inflation, again, reported on Tuesday there, and much of it, you know, on your groceries. Well, Biden administration is wanting to, they have to blame, you know, everything that's bad on somebody, and they're wanting to blame a lot of that on the packers. Well, this is the opportunity to get this done. They've endorsed this bill. We've got to get it pushed through. We've got a hearing set up with the Senate on the 26th and the House on the 27th. There will be scheduling a vote soon after that. It's bipartisan. I'm not sure what kind of dirty tricks the National or North American Meat Institute is trying to play, because that's the trade association for your packers. Totally Packers. NCBA is the other trade association for the packers. Not sure what kind of deals, dirty deals in dark and back smoky rooms they're trying to get pulled to fight this, but you know, it's not working because everybody sees it going through. Now, NCBA did say that they are calling out to halt Brazilian imports of beef. Can they just say that and then poof, it happens? Well, no, not necessarily, but they do pull quite a bit of weight. But I bet JBS is questioning dropping their membership from NCBA now that we see them calling out to stop Brazilian imports. But I agree, we do. I mean, it's already been proven that they pay off their inspectors, and we have to do that to ensure the health of the healthiness of the products that we're bringing over. So totally need to do that, but that's a little bold to just call out and say stop it right now and expect it to happen. That blizzard in the northern plains is really bad, guys, and it's as bad as what we feared, and could be even worse in parts of the northern North Dakota. Talked to some people in eastern Montana. They said it was a pretty good storm there, and very wet, which they need the moisture. But gosh, on newborn calves, it's really tough to get to be wet and cold. You know, wet is one thing, cold is another, but wet and cold is tough on anybody, especially newborn baby calves. Let's talk about your board for Tuesday. April live cattle futures up $1.42 at 139.95. Up. Why was it up? Because your regional packers came in there and pushed the market. They needed cattle, and the northern plains is short of cattle, so they pushed the market. The market's higher this week. We've seen the bulk of our trade in Kansas already. It's a buck higher. Your Midwest and Northern Plains regions that have traded are on the high side of their range. Our weighted average is going to be higher for sure. And that's one reason that we love the regional packers. They went in there and pushed things, and it got reported, I assume through private sources, the way it leaked into Chicago, but they pushed the market higher. But pretty much all your commodities were higher on Tuesday, but live cattle sure did benefit from that trade. June live cattle futures up $1.50 at 136.30. Your back months on live cattle contracts up 62 to up 102. April feeder cattle contracts up $1.10 despite your grains being higher, right in the face of it at 157.75. May was up $1.02 at 160.92. Your back months on your feeder cattle were kind of mixed from down 15 to up 45, but improved feeder cattle futures prices despite higher grains. And corn was up 11 3/4 cents at 7.76 1/4. Beans up 15 at 16.70 1/4. Kansas City hard red winter wheat up 20 3/4 cents at 11.62 1/4 cents. How about your trade on the fats that we saw break loose on Tuesday? About 1,200 head in Colorado. That tells you that packers are getting desperate for cattle because we haven't had enough packer playing in Colorado to report until last week. For months we didn't see anything report out of there because we didn't have enough packers participating in that area, but we do now, and we see that print. Colorado 1,200 head, 140 to 142. That's significantly higher in Colorado. Iowa 3,200 head. They had about that many to start the week on Monday, so they're already getting started. 141 to 142. That's close to the top of their range last week. Dress sales 223 to 224. Nebraska 7,400 head on Tuesday, 8,600 head for the week, 140 to 142. That's significantly higher in Nebraska. So they were still selling a lot of cattle at 138 in Nebraska, ranging up to 140, but that's basically $2 higher in Nebraska. Didn't see any dress sales in Nebraska. Kansas 12,500 head on a Tuesday, 14,200 head for the week after Tuesday, and we didn't even get the late Tuesday trades. You think these guys aren't scrambling for cattle as they had a big harvest last week? It's going to be kind of disappointing this week because Good Friday and Easter is going to cause the end of the week to be disappointing, but they need cattle. And live sales in Kansas 139, full buck higher. Dress sales 221 to 224. Texas sold 700 at 139. So decent fat cattle market. At least the trend's going higher, guys. Box beef cutout values were higher. Choice 273.47 up $1.36. Select 260.71 up 42 cents. Spreading out that choice select spread as we get to grilling demand. People want to buy the better stuff. Almost $13 on choice select spread. Slaughter 249,000 so far just through the first 2 days. 3,000 more than last week. 19,000 more than the same week a year ago. Let's talk about your feeder cattle markets. Real-time index on DV auction late in the day on Tuesday, sitting at 155.47. That was up 11 cents, but up the first 2 days, and not that many feeder cattle out there, and we still got demand for them. And how they're penciling those cattle with these $1.50 cost of gains, I'm not sure, but they're still selling readily because it's just not many cattle available. Lighter runs everywhere you look. Ozarks Regional Stockyard, West Plains, Missouri, only 1,900 head. That's a light run for them. They had another 360 on their in-house video through DV auction. The trend on the sale barn cattle were uneven, from $4 lower to $4 higher. But Dan Hill, my buddy, did mention that they've had some good rains there, and the temperatures are warming up with some sunshine, starting to get really green. Beautiful down there in the Acorn Hills right there in the West Plains, Missouri. How about Rezac Livestock Commission in St. Mary's, Kansas? Check out their automated market report here. Just 1,900 in St. Mary's. That's kind of a lighter run for them too. But you look at some of your best tested weights. 136 six-weight steers average 635 at 188.79. Wow. How about 411 head of 9-weight steers, mostly all in load lots there, average 952 with a weighted average price on your 9-weight steers of 142.74 at Rezac Livestock Commission. How about a big string of heifers? 326 head of the 7-weight heifers, average 773. That's way up in the sevens at 144.35. Stick out deal at Rezac Livestock Commission with some stockers, which that wouldn't surprise you this time of year. 62 head of 627 pound steers bring $192. Couple of individual quotes, and the best ones that I saw and the only ones that really impressed me were from back east. Well, this time of the year, they've got green cattle coming to market there, selling them in load lots. They're adding value to their own cattle right there in the Kentucky area, especially where they have those big bluegrass markets. Those cattle might have a tick of ear. They don't have a lot of hair. Guess what? They don't need hair to go on feed this time of year and feed through the summer. And they'll perform better than a lot of those native cattle, in the 5-area feeding region. But Bluegrass Stockyards, Maysville, Kentucky, sold 59 head, 787 pound steers at 160.95, and they do auction those off in nickels. So that was a true quote right there. But the best quote that I saw anywhere on Tuesday, your Ralgro top quote for the day, come out of Bluegrass Stockyards, Lexington, Kentucky, 70 head, 763 pound steers at $165, standing in the ring in Lexington, Kentucky. That's your feeder flash for Wednesday.